Happy to have everyone here. This is the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com, learnsidereal.com. So, we are here now. Let me make sure you guys can hear me. All right. So, what we're going to do here is do a lecture, and we're going to discuss some things, some foundational things in reference to sidereal astrology. Before I get started, this will be edited down in the actual school. So this is just me kind of talking through it, and then I'm going to listen to this, edit it down, see what I have to kind of redo or whatever that may look like. Because honestly, y'all, I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning. And the thing about me is when I have to talk, I just have to talk. And my wife is asleep, my kids asleep, so I'm going to just bother y'all instead of them, all right? So hopefully everybody is doing well. Ain't nobody up today, right? Everybody is sleeping. It's Sunday. I'm up early every morning. I don't care. It don't matter. Um, but yeah, I'm starting this online platform. And starting this online platform, I'm just kind of greasing the wheels a little bit, just starting this. Because it's a long ass download, right? It's long ass download. And if I was to do a live video, or if I was to just kind of talk about it, you know what I'm saying? It'd just be me wasting time. So I've organized my notes. I've organized my slideshow, my presentation, and just trying to organize these downloads in a very structured form. So learn sidereal astrology will be broken up into sections. However, I'll also be doing my weekly astro reports exclusively in that portal. What I'll do is do it like live uncut, and then I'll kind of edit it down and upload it on YouTube. For me, that's a win-win because I feel like on YouTube it's more of like a casual listener and they don't be really wanting the in-depth thing. But if I'm gonna be doing this in-depth thing, I gotta see if there is a monetary value to studying this and bringing it to people. So what I'm doing is an introductory offer: $10 a month, $75 for the whole year, guaranteed to get astrology reports. My goal is to get 100 people. That's at minimum. My higher goal is to get 1,000 people. So I feel like if I'm able to build up this platform and get people that's interested in learning and not really tax them, I'll be able to support my family doing the thing that I love. So this is just an idea. I'm just kind of throwing out there softball, pitching it. However, I know $10 is a lot of money to a lot of people. So I'm just going to give you kind of a flavor of the things that we're going to be talking about. The lectures that we'll be talking today, which will probably be, I don't know, 2 to 3 hours that we'll spend today just breaking down all of this information to then be cut down and then uploaded on the Learn Sidereal Astrology portal. I'll show y'all what that looks like after well, let's look at that now. So y'all would just go to learnsidereal.com. Peace. Learnsidereal.com. I don't even know how to spell it. It's like it's late, but it's early, and I really should probably be asleep. But I can't sleep. So you would if you go to learnsidereal.com, it'll come up to a splash page. You can join the mystery school. Go into the tab where it says it's going to be a tab in the network. It's going to be topics, events, tribes, classes. Before I get to that, I got a question on the feed. Give me some more topics that y'all want to talk about, and I'll add them to this topics list. So I got astrology, chakra, shadow work, tarot, healed mama, 9 days of the goddess, marketing powwow. We just added nutrition, added sacred geometry. I want to talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. So if y'all got some topics that I need to add, please answer my question on the activity feed. But fast forward, you'll go to your classes, learn sidereal astrology, you'll sign up, they'll give you a little sign up sheet. It's $10 a month or $75 for a year. You get uncut weekly astro reports. I'm doing live Q&As, and I'm also doing the lectures. And so these lectures aren't going to be on YouTube, but these first two lectures are. But also, this is hella background. In order for me to eventually talk about sidereal astrology, you're going to get this massive amount of background. That's why I can give this away for free, because it's necessary just to get your mind to start thinking about things outside of just your regular conversation. So we're going to deal with sidereal astrology. We're going to break it down from a root perspective, from a spiritual perspective, from an everyday perspective, and hopefully we can open up our minds up to new information, right? Because I love to learn, and that's why I started this platform. I wanted to incentivize and monetize and make it to whereas every week I'm learning new information, but I'm also getting paid for it, because honestly, when you've been studying and putting the work as long as I've had, you really work hard to figure out how to monetize your efforts. Now, the idea that I'm working on, what I'm trying to bring forward to the people, is if you have trouble channeling, you have trouble grounding, you have trouble with chakra work, you have trouble with shadow work, all of these things are foreign to you because you don't understand why. The deeper understanding is that you got a deeper consciousness within you. And you must center yourself first. And then from that centering, you naturally are tuned into the stars, whether you know it or not. Because, a lot of these people out here is listening to Little John CDs right now, doing crunk dances and things of that nature. And here you are meditating and tuning in to your constellational star body and things of that nature. Look at you growing up. So we're going to talk about fixed stars, but not really. We're going to talk about Saturn, the golden age, and what the hell are they talking about? We're going to talk about a word that you probably never heard of. At least I never heard of it. Omphalos, right? Some future chapters that we're not going to get to, the forgotten goddess, but we'll allude to these. Ptolemy's lie, that's going to be another lecture that we'll be doing later in the week. And then 13 sign astrology. What is that? What is that sign that they never talk about? What is a 13 sign astrology? Is it real? Does it matter? And are we just making it up, or is it invalid? Things of that nature. And then we'll get into more robust topics such as true sidereal astrology, where we include all of the things that we've talked about in the background and move it into a future conversation. So after this session, I'm going to move into other things such as herbal alchemy, where we're aligning all of our plant life to our astrology. And instead of saying wormwood is for this, we're going to have a deep understanding of why we're even coming up with that phrase. So today we're going to be talking, as I stated earlier, fixed stars and omphalos. If you've never heard of these things, be sure to have a pen and paper as we begin to learn new information. So the key to astrology is understanding fixed stars. The key to understanding fixed stars is understanding mythology and decoding the mythology. Now, the thing about fixed stars is people like Future, and it's people like YK Osiris. It's people like Drake, and it's people like just some random rapper on YouTube. Meaning that we have wandering stars and we have fixed stars. And whenever, to grow the platform, because my thing is I'm trying to get 1,000 people signed up. To grow the platform, I'm going to talk about stars too. I'm going to talk about celebrities. I'm going to start breaking down sidereal charts. I'm going to start looking if some crazy shit happened. I'm going to start breaking that shit down astrologically, and give people on the platform the real deal Holyfield. Then, of course, editing everything down on YouTube. So if you watching this video now, you really in the space of history, because this probably going to be my last free form video on YouTube. Not nothing bad. I feel like as far as viewers, I want to give y'all a much more, like, if y'all just watching some shit, I'm sure y'all don't want to hear me talk for hours on hours in. I mean, your battery life can't stand it and things of that nature. So I'm just going to shorten things up, make shit more cooler. But at the same time, if you do enjoy these long form conversations, this is where you get to tuning in to the Mystery School or learn sidereal astrology. But fixed stars, let's just deal with this now. So when we look at the etymology of sidereal, it's very telling. Because what it alludes to, you know, when you stick out your two fingers, your hands like this, and hold on, I'll show y'all better than I can tell you. LearnSidereal.com. So let me just see. Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci, man and star. Right? So let's look at these things such as this. Let's just get us a foundation. If you got astrology explained, you already know these things, but for people who've never even understood these concepts and understand why we talk about astrology, because every man and every woman is a star. We are star-like, we have a star body. Scientists will tell you 99% of the cosmos exists in our being. First off and foremost. So the hard part about understanding this is that we just hate learning new information. Now, the thing that you hate learning might be the thing that saves you, but the adult thing to do is really sit down, take some notes, and understand that every man and every woman is a star. That's Aleister Crowley. And then it's another song, Every Nigger is a Star. Who sing that song? Boris Gardner. Every nigga is a star. Okay? But I digress. Sidereal is the illusion that we are star-like, of or pertaining to the stars. Taken from Latin sidereus, which means starry, astral, or of the constellations. A star, a group of stars, or a constellation. So the teaching style is going to be cutting straight to the point. So when they talk about sidereal, they're talking about a specific star group of star beings and star constellations that have incarnated down here, but don't understand this, right? Completely disconnected. And if you stick with me, when we get into areas such as Ptolemy's lie, you'll understand, like, as we go further and further and further, and we'll talk about this in this lecture, and time is saying in 2 years, I'll be that much further disconnected from my source. I'll be 10 years from now, I'll be that much disconnected from my star group, right? And this is what we're trying to understand, and this is what we're trying to teach, to reverse the entropy, reverse the scattering of the star beings, and come into true knowledge, true sidereal astrology, right? And this is what sidereal really stands for. Now, sidereal time is true time, and it is based upon the motion of the fixed stars. A sidereal day is 4 months shorter than a solar day. Very important, because if you go 2,000 years of people just calculating time by a 24-hour period, when in fact it's a 23-hour period, 56 minutes, 36-second period, then we're ultimately misaligned. Now, the analogy that we'll use throughout this whole entire course is if your key is 4 minutes shorter than it needs to be to open your door. Well, if your key is missing just a little bit of notches, when you put it into your door to try to get in your house, you won't be able to get in, so you're going to have to kick the door down, right? Because your key is 4 minutes shorter. So what may seem like an inconsequential number that requires us, so if you have a clock, if you have a time, then that means human beings don't have to pay attention to the stars. Because now all they have is these clocks and these devices and astrology charts. The reality, sidereal time, which astronomers use, which the Navy uses, which keeps them in alignment, because, it's a matter of life or death for them, which would be a matter of life and death for us, but it's more of being able to observe the celestial movements of the stars, understanding them, understanding that half-truths are whole lies, right? Very simple. But when we get sidereal, we get another word that we're going to have to utilize a lot throughout this class, and that's going to be consider. Because a lot of sidereal astrology is based upon considering or meditating or knowing when and how to move. To look closely at, to observe. Probably literally to observe the stars. To consider, it means to be with sidereal astrology, to be with our star body. So as we do background, as we kind of spread out our understanding, we got to also understand that astrology is a form of divination, but there is no right or wrong. It is no based upon I'm a Leo, Virgo, or none of that. It's basically it's like going out at night, observing the stars, and knowing what you're looking at. As you contemplate on the stars, now we're in Astrology Explained. In Astrology Explained, we reference, what do we reference? The law of correspondence. What is the law of correspondence? When you dwell on a star or a star body, in essence, that star body has to dwell upon you. This is what we call higher consciousness. This is what we call as above, so below. So the mind, so the universe. So your mind is deeply connected to the cosmos. The issue is where you feel like you need to learn a technique. You need to have all of this complicated jargon. This class is not about learning complicated jargon. This class is deeply spiritual because I can't teach you how to be something that you already are. Thus, you only have to understand one key point, and that's what we're going to end this lecture on. And if I tell you that one key point, I'm just ruining all the fun. So let's just keep continuing on in our conversation. This man is Eminem's great-great-grandfather. That is not a fact. That is just a mere speculation. I'm going to foray into a different aspect. I'm going to probably edit this out for the class, but I'm going to share this with y'all. I was talking to somebody very recently, and I came to the conclusion and the deeper understanding that the music industry is just a big group of psychics. Why do I say that? Because it's a lot of like unsigned artists and people trying to come up, and you might hear a song and you be like, man, that song is pretty tight. Or you might say, man, that song ain't hitting on nothing. But say, for instance, it's a song that's going to be a big hit, a smash. Do you know the amount of legwork that a record label has to put in, the amount of money and marketing and videos and videographers and editors and blah, 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 blah for a song to really catch? The foresight to put an investment in a song or an artist, more or less, when a dude can walk outside and a piano can fall on his head, literally, you gonna invest all of this money in this artist? Well, if you are a rapper, if you are a singer, if you are a music executive, meaning that you can spot talent and say, this person is going to be successful. This person, what do they say, y'all? Say it with me. This person is a star. That means you can tell the future somewhat, and you say, if I invest in this person, if I get them the right stylist, the right boom, the right bam, the right blue, the right blow, and it's all going to be out of here, right? Such as so, people like Eminem and people like Big Sean and people, all the industry is all psychics. It's a big psychic game for your attention and your energy. Because when you think about the ancient mind, and this is what this first lecture is going to be, I want to bring your mind into a space of the ancient perspective. There were no clocks. They didn't need clocks. They had the stars. There were no TVs because they did not need TVs. There were the stars. Now, before we get into our lecture, I'm just going to bring a quote from Mr. Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers. I just call him Eminem's great-great-granddaddy, if you forget S.L. McGregor Mathers. Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers, born Samuel Liddell Mathers, was a British occultist. He is primarily known as the founders of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn of Ceremonial Magic Order of Offshoots, which still exists. I'm just letting you know that sidereal astrology and magic are connected. So if you want to get your rituals in order, you want to understand the correspondences, you want to know the timing of things, don't trust me. These people done did magic on top of magic. They ain't had nothing but resources and time and energy to tap into shit. And I'm saying all of this to say, with them tapping into all of the magic and having all of the money, they still was referencing sidereal astrology. So let's take it from the horse's mouth, Eminem's granddaddy, with the bars. In considering this initiated astrology, it must be borne in mind that the signs of the zodiac in popular astrology are completely out of step with the constellation bearing the same names. The situation has arisen because of the precession of the equinox. The fact that the equinoctial point, the point of the zodiac, which the sun lies when it intercrosses the equator on March 21st each year, moves steadily through the zodiac in a reverse direction to the motion of the planets, i.e., sidereal time. In spite of this fact, so March 21st, 2,000 years ago, the sun was at 0 degrees Aries. So when Ptolemy said it, it was a fact. 2,094 years later, give or take, when it's March 21st, that same equatorial line is now positioned at 6 degrees Pisces. However, tropical astrologers calling this invisible, moving equinoctial point 0 degrees of Aries, though it is in reality, this is very important. When you start talking about magic, when you start talking about ritual, when you start talking about alignment, when you start talking about wealth, true wealth, because some of this shit can come to, like, true wealth, spiritual wealth, being immortal, reality, these things are many degrees away from that constellation of that same name, Aries. So when a Western astrologer says it's the first day of spring and the sun is at 0 degrees Aries, it is not. And this is not my words. This is coming from Eminem's great-great-granddaddy. So let's read a little bit. Not really read, but just want to bring y'all up to speed. Before time was a conception in the human mind, all was considered perfect. So when something ain't right, you know it ain't right. Because within your psychology, within your soul, there was a time where you were born into perfection and you died in perfection, and you want that shit back. Now they introduced time and said time is in alignment with the stars and the sun, but we gonna have to adjust this for the leap year. We gonna have to do daylight savings time. Make sure you work 8 hours a day. Make sure you sleep 8 hours a night. All of these lies in reference to time, when the facts is the day wasn't even 24 hours, and they knew that. But manipulation of time is the highest level of manipulation because reality is being stripped from you. Reality, observation, being present, being able to understand mythology, being able to understand psychology, being able to understand where your wealth is at. What do I mean? When our wealth is misaligned, it's literally based upon something that we should be doing and something that we are not doing. It's literally like having a key and knowing this key can open a door, but it's just not the door that you can open. Like you might have a key that can open your neighbor's house, but your neighbor live in there. So no matter how good that key is, no matter how perfectly it fits, the moment you open up that door, they might shoot you because you invading their territory. So in order to come to an alignment, you have to come into a level of perfection, or come into a level of wealth. And we're talking about the golden age. We're talking about alchemy. Saturn is the planet of lead, right? Alchemy is turning lead to gold, but when Saturn ruled, it was called the golden age. So the goal of life from an esoteric perspective is to realign yourself psychologically, cosmically, spiritually with the cosmos. And you know for a fact that you are out of alignment because society has easily accepted time. You ask somebody right now what time it is, they'll tell you without a shadow of a doubt it's 7:15. What's today's date? It's November 28th. But don't November mean 9? Even crazy, they say, what's the primary measure of time? A second. What's the second number in the numbers? 2. So why is the primary unit of time called the second when the primary number in the number catalog is 1? Right? It's a complete manipulation of time and our understanding. And the reality of chaos beings is that we created time. So we gonna get into some robust, beautiful mythology and understanding Saturn, but the mythology and why I'm so excited to bring y'all on to learn sidereal, because I want y'all to challenge me. I want y'all to bring a mythology that you hold true and dear and think you know what it's talking about, and let me explain to you how they're specifically talking about cosmology. It's all cosmology, but the beautiful part about cosmology is that we can be present in understanding cosmology. So this perfected life was a balance. It wasn't a 23-degree tilt. It was a balanced spin on the earth. And it was perfect day and perfect night. And everything rotated around a pole star. There wasn't a tilt. There wasn't no uneasy energy. Every night, because this sun was shining so bright in the night, people were able to work all hours of the day. This was the Atlantean era, before Egypt. And the universe was perfect. There's many different theories. I've heard that the earth was not rotating around the sun. It was a moon of Saturn. And so it was able to pick up the sunlight from the sun, but also pick up the light to Saturn. Then all of a sudden there was a supernova. Saturn had a supernova, and a supernova is when a star gets so bright It explodes and then it regresses into whether it's going to be a dwarf star or a planet or a combination of both. But when Saturn had a supernova, it ejected us from its orbit and we were ejected into our own orbit, which would made us the third planet from the sun, because the sun creates multiple levels of orbits. The same way is you have your baby daddy who always around you. Then you have your friends at an outer level. Then you have your kids and family at another outer level. Then you have your work people that work for you or work with you at another level. Then you have society as a whole, like the people that you went to high school with at another level, and they all somehow rotate around you. And this is the energy that you give off based upon who you are as a person. So these different energy rotations which the sun emits, once we came from being a satellite of Saturn, we became our own satellite. Now, what you know this as in Bible times is the flood. And from the flood forward, you have the Egyptian era, where the same people who lived during the flood, survived the flood, began to recreate society in memories of how things used to be. This is what it looks like. From a psychological level, we were in a perfect harmony. When you look at Egypt, you got to see lush greens and palm trees and all types of fly shit going on. Get out of your mind the desert. Understand Atlantis and just everybody just on a mountain, and ain't nothing but food surrounding you, naked girls, naked women, bananas, goats, just all types of fly shit, right? Just all types of fly shit. And this is the singularity. This is the point in meditation when you completely center yourself and ground yourself into Saturn, into your root chakra. You understand? And now you can understand where your abundance is at. You'll never let that go. Psychologically, we all strive for better things. When you get spiritual, you start increasing and doing better things with your life. What does that come from? That comes from this understanding of human life in a golden age, in a golden period. And of course, I'll have some sentences that I'll read for y'all, but I'm just giving y'all the backdrop. So once we get into the literature, you'll be able to understand the literature. When you get into the mythology, you'll be able to understand the mythology. You'll be able to make sense of it. It's not about looking at the world and being confused. It's about being one with the cosmos. Because we can bear witness to the cosmos. We can bear witness to the light and the illumination. And if you've been doing this for as long as I've done it, you see how the moon cycles affect the psychology of people. You can see different cycles, different trends, different things coming into alignment, big rituals in alignment with celestial alignments, things of that nature. And it's all about getting to this singular point where they're trying to manipulate it with computers. Here it is. We have the ability and technology to do it when we just simply center ourselves, when we simply ground ourselves. So another level of to show you this and to show you this, and like the Big Bang, what they're all alluding to is when Saturn supernovaed, kicked us out of orbit, and we became our own planet. And we had to learn things all over again. What is science? Science is saying, I don't know what the fuck is going on this earth. But imagine human beings not knowing what's going on in the earth. That don't even make sense. But when you have such a benevolent energy shining down on you presently at all times, and it just gets taken away from you, and you have to build up, and then after, now this is crazy, after, well, this is what we talk about the forgotten goddess. After the Saturn supernova, there was a goddamn comet from Venus. And the comet from Venus is talked about in Egyptian mythology when they talk about Sekhmet. See, Venus was a rogue planet that attacked and killed everybody. And when you read the mythology of Sekhmet coming through, killing everybody, they're talking about a comet that came on the earth with fire. And it had to be cooled down by Ra and dispositioned by its orbit. The sun has an orbit that traps high energy and says, no, you can't attack. You can't really just go crazy like that. This is why people are religious. They are sun worshipers, because the sun, if we do not have a sun, we do not have life on this earth. Let's step into that reality. You take everything for granted, but if that sun decided, hey, you know what? I ain't rising today. There's nothing else for us. The sun equates to life. So it defends and it protects and it also sustains. But back to entropy. Entropy is our natural singular state. And over time, this is what I say, over time, we get further and further away from the truth. Now, reverse entropy, meditation, grounding, centering yourself, is when you get to this singular, individuated truth. You might think it's inconsequential, but when you connect astrology, observation, mythology, understanding, relaxation, downloads, channels, whenever you get discouraged, cut on some Abraham Hicks. And whether you agree with what she's saying or not, understanding that she's channeling, understand that she's centered all the way to let an energy speak through her, and she's a multi-millionaire because of it. That's how it really works. But if you can't center yourself, you go into more of the hustle bustle, you are more entropy. And at this point, we completely spread out due to social media, cell phones, TikToks, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. We completely spaced out. So the call is to center all of your molecules, all of your atoms. Understand that this is an electromagnetic universe, and it's time to tap in. As above, so below. Very simple stuff, but let's deal with some documentation so we can talk about it. And I know you're like, what did this got to do with sidereal astrology? This ain't really this is not the nitty gritty of sidereal. Got to give you background and backstory, because if I start explaining sidereal astrology, you're not going to understand why it's important or even what it is. So let's deal with some background. It starts at Saturn, starts at the root chakra, it starts at singularity, it starts at lead, it starts at alchemy, and this is the process. In the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer, and that makes me happy. For it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me there is something stronger, something better, pushing right back. This is your living soul. This is your electromagnetic energy that if all you do is center, you will be an oracle. You'll understand this a little clearly when I talk about omphalos. You gotta be serious. So we're talking about Saturn. I gave y'all kind of a backstory on Saturn, but let's kind of show you this in some written words and then also some pictures. I try to do my teaching style, try to do a little bit for everybody. You feel me? Try to give you some stuff to read, try to give you some pictures, try to keep this thing kind of going. Don't want to get you kind of stuck on a specific thing. Keep the shit moving. But I hope that you learning. And the only way that I know that you learning is if you taking notes. Take notes like you never heard none of this shit. Because you start talking about what you know based upon shit that you think you know, and it gets confusing. Clear your mind and see if it resonates with you. Originally an indigenous agricultural god whose scythe reaped abundant crops. This is the golden age. Equal sun, equal day, equal night. Everything is everything. Crops just growing out your ass. Just, man, it's just amazing here, right? This earth shit is pretty dope. Saturn later assimilated the qualities of his Greek counterpart Cronus. The youngest of the Titans and eldest of the gods, Cronus usurped the cosmic order by castrating his father with the very sickle that later symbolized his harvest. Under Saturn's rule, the Golden Age enjoyed a perennial spring and had no need for law due to inherent justness of human nature. When you got everything on top of everything, ain't no drama happening. When Jermaine got 10 girls and Curtis got 10 girls and Charmaine got 10 dudes and Lisa got 10 dudes and y'all all got food and y'all all got kids and everything is peaceful, you relate that to Saturn because at that particular time, now you'd be like, well, science has said. Now, if y'all want me to get into the nitty gritty or the scientifics of it, DM me. But for listening's sake, trust me when I say, I'm not typing this shit and then posting it here. It's an actual reality. Like everything is a perceptual breakaway from singular oneness. But at certain stops, shit was better than it was as it progressed. It gets progressively worse and worse and worse and worse and worse from the looks of it. When I was growing up, everybody wasn't strippers. Everybody wasn't showing their ass on Halloween. Next Halloween, you're supposed to wear costumes at Halloween, meaning you're supposed to wear something. 10 years from now, Halloween is going to be straight bucky naked. You ain't even going to be, y'all going to just be wearing nothing. And Halloween is going to be a time where people just come outside butt ass naked. And then y'all going to talk about, yeah, Halloween used to be a time where people wore masks and dressed up. But as entropy set in, people just started getting crazier and crazier and crazier. This is what you must know. See, a lot of times you might not even process the shit as how shit is, right? There was a time where shit was perfect. That ain't the time no more. But when Saturn was himself disposed, nature fell and divided into 4 seasons, and humankind descended into a spiral of justice. The Greek view of Cronus or Saturn, a tyrant who ate his children to preserve his reign, became embodied in the cruel and all-devouring force of time itself. This more pessimistic attitude persisted in the astrological texts of the Hellenistic period, where Kronos presided over poverty, slavery, death, and suffering. Why? The only way you get poverty, slavery, death, and suffering if you have another side to you. You're not just all bad. That's a half truth. A whole truth is saying, well, what made him become the god of poverty, slavery, and death and suffering when he was once the indigenous agricultural god whose scythe reaped abundant crops? How we go from here to here? A more favorable Roman view of Saturn, god of cycles, liberator from the bonds of suffering was enshrined in Virgil's Eclogues, and it is the vision of a restored golden age. You see gold right here? Gold is alchemy, and if Saturn, let's look at this. Saturn and alchemy. Because you can't get two things. It has to be one thing or another. Can't be both, right? Can't be fat and skinny at the same time. I ain't never seen, I'm lying. If you see Saturn rules lead and Sun rules gold, but to understand the hidden side of alchemy is to turn your lead to gold. But Saturn also in chakras represent your root chakra. To tune in and tap into your root chakra would be to center yourself and ground. These are things that you can't fake. These are things that you can't buy, but these will be the things that'll bring in your abundant energy. To be it, to understand it, to see it, right? So Saturn in Babylonian mythology is called Shamash. In Hindu, is known as Ravesutri, the sun within the sun. It is said that during parts of the Egyptian rule, Saturn, i.e. Set, was as bright as the sun at night. And then when it was displaced, we went into a realm of astrology because at this time, we weren't able to see stars. Because Saturn was 3 times brighter than our sun. 3 times larger. So when it came dark time, Saturn would rise and would light up the night sky. And instead of going in the house and going to sleep, people said, you know what? I might as well keep building. I might as well keep learning. I might as well keep doing the same thing, because the thing about planetary energies is that they influence human behavior. That's the whole point of it. Now, you either want to be influenced positively or negatively, but what does that look like? That looks like electromagnetic energy, a strong pulse or a weak pulse. When you have a strong pulse, things are going the way that you want them to go. When you have a weak pulse, you're not getting what you want. Thus, if you understand the astrological influences which tie into electromagnetic energy, mainly Mars, mainly Venus, mainly Sun, mainly Moon, these energies have a strong influence on your understanding. This is why they say millionaires don't need astrology. You can make $1 million selling your ass. But billionaires do, because now you understand the influences electromagnetically. And a deeper aspect to this is that you don't have to try, you only have to be. I never had to try to access my right hand. I only have to recognize it and understand the mechanics of it. And it's not hard mechanics to do all types of cool shit with my right hand. I can do it all with my mind. So when we get command of our cosmological understanding, our mythological point of view, we'll be able to do the same controlling with our mind. But you must understand this internally, meaning that you must center yourself and ground yourself. So another level of this is to be humble. Another level of this is to not think that you need to get something out of it. Because once again, that is not centering yourself. That is not grounding yourself. That is simply doing things conditionally, which is part of a half-truth. Now, the thing about a half-truth is that it's a whole lie, right? Your baby daddy do love you, but your baby daddy also be cheating on you. That represents the fact that he don't really love you. He just saying that he loves you. Let's go again. A half-truth is a whole lie. So, as we delve into certain aspects within sidereal astrology, as we talk about fixed stars, we're going to have to reclaim the narrative. We're going to have to create a new understanding. So this is why I'm going from the root and working my way up. I'm coming from the oldest cosmological understanding, a time before time was even created within the human mind. And all there was observation, correspondence, journaling, and alignment. Because before these were mythologies, they were just simple observations. Now, I know that when we tune in and tap in and understand these cosmological alignments, we will create a new mythology. When we create a new mythology, we will now have control over the cosmos. The oracles are still here. The astrologers are still here, but they think that they need to razzmatazz you, right? They didn't know that they needed to center themselves. They didn't know that they needed to do chakra work. They didn't know that they need to activate their silver cord. They didn't know they need to astral travel. They didn't know they need to take herbs and align the herbs with the influences that take place at night through cosmic rays. Just because science don't talk about it don't mean it ain't true. Science ain't never talked about you ever, but you still exist. You still a biological wonderment phenomena. Science ain't never did a medical review on you. That don't discredit your brilliance. The fact that you could do weird shit with your right hand. Okay? Continuing. It's time to, when we do this sidereal class, it's going to be a lot of mythology. It's going to be a lot of celebrity talk. It's going to be a lot of understanding because we have to retrace this back to the origins of human knowledge, and it's found in myths. Now, the myths that we have been given are slavery. It tells you right there the title Titanomachy. It tells you in the mythology, we killed all the titans and we trapped them in earth. We trapped the titans in the human body. But the reality is that the titans are now free. And the titans are now in a space where they can learn about their ancient power and their ancient abilities. And if you think your power is in reference of you working so hard, then that's not really power. Power is using your mind and getting this accomplished. But power is also understanding that you are connected to a larger schematic. And the issue is your disconnection. And that disconnection is going to happen naturally based upon entropy. So you can start something right here. You ever start a business and it start to lose you? And it get further away and it get further away to the point it just blow up in front of you? It ain't just blow up. It took its time. And now you're just dealing with the consequences and repercussions. So, reading. The lamentations over the death of Saturn were worldwide because Saturn, quote unquote, died in what was a historical period. Although little of its civilization remains, the hysterical and obsessive mourning shows mankind affected, not affecting a real tragedy. Thousands of years after the death of the second son in the the end of his age, the Roman government was still acting to suppress infant sacrifice to Saturn. So 2,000 years after this happened, this was in Egypt times, Romans was still doing a celebration in winter called Saturnalia, where they would sacrifice people, get their ass whipped, hoping just one day the golden age would come back. Imagine to have, because they within their psychology, because what part of the entropy phase would a Roman be in? You imagine that the Roman would be in this phase, or maybe even particularly this phase, who knows? In between this phase and that phase, right? Where they have a remnant that's much more visible. And it's like having the best thing in your life getting taken away from you. And you'll do anything to bring it back. I don't think infant sacrifice is the way to go, but back then they figured that was the way to go. They was trying to bring it back, right? And I'm sure if they was able to get an internet, get on some goddamn scribed and screenshot articles and do research, understand about tantric yoga and things of that nature, chakra work, they would have did things other than sacrifice infants, right? They would have spread the knowledge and did the knowledge and said, you know what? Saturn is within me, right? But they didn't know that, so they did what they did. Even deeper. So when you see Jesus, you also see Saturn, right? Because Saturn's father was Uranus or Uranus. Jesus was always talking about his father. Now let's do the breakdown of Uranus real quick, and you can kind of understand where they're talking about Uranus, what they're talking about in the Bible, rather. Sometimes written Uranus is the personification of the sky and one of the Greek primordial deities. Uranus was the son and husband of Gaia Earth, with whom he fathered the first generation of Titans. So these were times upon Earth's understanding where Uranus was the main sun. A long time ago, Uranus was bright. A long time ago, Pluto was bright. But over time, these things supernova, and then another star steps in. After Saturn, there was Jupiter. And this is still the age of Jupiter, because Jupiter is not bright in the daytime. Jupiter is bright in the nighttime. So the ability to see stars is thanks to Jupiter. So this is why Jupiter gets praised as a king, as a god, because we're able to still have a connection to our cosmological inheritance. Moving further. So when Saturn says his father, he's talking about Uranus. Uranus doesn't have a father. There is no, and if you look at Saturn, it could be a mishmash jumble of Uranus if you look at it closer, an anagram rather. Between Saturn and Christ was a Saturnian figure are numerous. The Passion of the Christ is historically and psychologically a reenactment of the character, the unjust death, and the resurrection of the god who had died some 4,000 years earlier as Osiris and Saturn. Frequent efforts philosophically to cover the deep trench of tradition connecting the two gods have failed to divert the mainstream. Such efforts have built a distinct existential character for Christ. So psychologically, let's talk about that, because y'all might not understood what has been said. Let me try to break that down for you from my understanding. Psychologically, we're so tapped into Saturn leaving us that we created a character called Jesus. And Jesus died on the cross, which would be the supernova spreading out. What does a supernova look like? What does a supernova look like? When you look at it from the sky, you see it like kind of spread out like whoosh. So you get the cross side to side, up and down. So when Jesus died on the cross, that's Saturn coming out of his star phase. Because when it's a star, it's bright, it emits heat. When it goes through a supernova, it dies and it don't emit the same heat. And it kicked all of its moons out. Earth was once a moon. So when that happened, that caused a great flood on Earth. Every civilization in ancient history talks about this great flood. There is no sense of Atlantis anymore. We don't know where it's at. It's gone. Ancient civilizations, gone. Why? Because Saturn kicked us out of its orbit and we had to start from scratch. And then we created science. And then people try to say, well, how do we go and study the stars? We had to create everything from scratch. So when we get into Ptolemy, it was a need because they didn't understand nothing. But in that same time, they was creating the Christian mythos of Jesus. And Jesus is a psychological need in human beings from that time where we were in that golden age and it just got taken away from us. And we are in a mission to find it again. The age of Saturn, in cultural terms, was probably what is designated as the Upper Paleolithic and Neolithic periods. It would be the age of Atlantis and other civilizations lost to view in the disasters that followed. Okay? After overthrowing his father Uranus, Kronos, or Saturn, remembered the prophecy Uranus told him before he departed Earth, saying that because he overthrew him, one of his sons would do the same to him. Fearing that prophecy, Kronos swallowed every single one of Rhea's children. When Saturn was going through its supernova, it created a magnetic pull. So when a star does go through a supernova, it creates a black hole. This is what they feared was going to happen for Betelgeuse. When Betelgeuse goes through a supernova, it's going to be in our lifetime. It's going to be a light in the dark. Dark will be lighter. Okay? And it will begin to suck up energy. This is what they're afraid of when they say Betelgeuse. Because the mythology is clear. Like, once we start to understand cosmology is the basis of mythology, you'll be able to explain everything and anything. When Kronos swallowed every single one of Rhea's children, Hestia, Hades, Demeter, Poseidon, Hera, Rhea was about to give birth to Zeus. And she couldn't stand to lose another child. This child, Zeus or Jupiter. Why? Y'all gotta riddle me this. Hold on. If Zeus isn't talking about cosmology, then why would Zeus be called Jupiter? If they're not talking about the stars. Zeus is the Greek name. The Roman name is Jupiter. So Jupiter is Zeus. It ain't no white man on the mountain, unfortunately, with a gray beard. In real time, they're talking about the planet Jupiter, the supreme god of the Olympians, because at nighttime, which gives us our ability to stare out in the cosmos, is Jupiter's light. And Jupiter's light was not sucked up by the supernova. It actually was interceded, and we're about to explain by what it was interceded by. Because we're going to continue this conversation. As Kronos when Rhea was about to give birth to Zeus, she couldn't stand the thought of losing another child. As Kronos approached the sacrifice altar, she took a stone, wrapped it in a cloth, and gave it to Kronos, who then swallowed it whole, thinking it was Zeus. Carried away to safety by an eagle, Zeus was raised by Earth or Gaia and eventually bested his father, releasing all of his brothers and sisters. After the Titanomachy, the omphalos, write this down, this is going to be a key word, especially when we get into our next lecture, which is coming right after this next lecture. I got to get this shit off. The omphalos was set up on display at Delphi, where it remains to this day. The omphalos. What is an omphalos? Let's read a little bit. Okay. Ancient thought understood that there was a divine connection between... This is me, by the way. This is what I wrote. So if y'all in the lecture series, if y'all tune in and tap in, y'all be able to read this. But I just wanted to read what I wrote. So When we get into the next section, we'll have a backdrop. The thing about these lectures, each lecture is going to lead into the next lecture. We're going to connect the dots because right now we're connecting Chronos to the omphalos. The omphalos was the stone that was given to Saturn that caused him to end his supernova, which was only an eclipse. But an eclipse, when understood from a human, is an alignment. Is when the sun, moon, earth come into alignment. Humanly, that's our central nervous system. That's our consciousness. That's us being centered. Now we're centered. The cosmos are centered. We got a solar eclipse coming up. That's omphalos. It's to center yourself, and it is to be connected. It is the tenet. It is the root. It is the foundation of sidereal astrology, for which if you are not centered, you're not even going to understand. Because if you're not centered, you're going to think, well, what do I got to do? And it's simple into just being yourself. So right now, I'm going to show y'all some examples of omphalos, but let me read on it. I'll be so pumped up. Let me read. Ancient thought understood that there is a divine connection between us and the cosmos. Take notes on that. Make sure that sinks in your skull. There is a divine connection between you and the cosmos. This connection in Greek is the term omphalos. And omphalos is a powerful symbolic artifact made from stone, considered the navel of the world, the central point from which terrestrial life originated. The term axis mundi, also called the cosmic axis, world pillar, the center of the world, or world tree, has been dramatically extended to refer to the mythological concept representing the connection between heaven and earth, or the higher and lower realms, or as above, so below. Axis mundi closely relates to the mythological idea of omphalos, navel, or the world, or cosmos, all being one thing. Peace to everybody for joining me early on this Sunday, talking this razzmatazz. You feel me? Razzmatazzle. So let's keep going. I'm going to show some examples of omphalos. When you look at an astrological chart, it's taken from the Temple of Dendera. This is an image of the Temple of Dendera. This is the basis of your astrological chart. Even deeper, you have, so Saturn is called the Lord of the Mill, this churning mill that produces gold, that produces salt, that produces all the minerals and nutrients that makes us big and strong and smart, produces the shroomies that activate our third eye, things of that nature, right? We give credit to Saturn for all that in a historical point of view. In Hindu, because we're dealing with correspondences and syncretisms, because in reality, in navigation, we're talking about the North Pole. We're talking about Ursa Major. We're talking about the bear. And we're also, the reason that we're talking about this is because it symbolizes our navel. It symbolizes the center point of the sky. And the center point of the sky is essential to understanding sidereal astrology. If you don't understand that everything rotates around the axis, then you might be disconnected from the universe when you don't really have to. Let's deal with the mythology surrounding this right here. Vishnu sits atop Mount Mandara, accompanied by his wife Lakshmi. The mountain of the world is being spun by the great snake Vasuki. It is pulled to and fro from the devas, grasping the snake's neck to the left and the Asurus holding its head to the right. It's a snake being pulled to and fro by the devas back and forth. Together they churn a sea of milk, producing the liquid of immortality. Unfortunately, their churning became so violent that it threatened the earth, whereupon Vishnu, the avatar of the turtle, came to save the world by assuming the role as its pivot. So when the earth tilted, they say Vishnu assumed the role as its pivot. In Atlantean Greek mythology, they call it Atlas, the person, the titan that was punished to hold the world. Same mythology, just syncretized based upon the time and society, but it was the same observation. Still, the world was threatened by the heat of the churning until Indra sent a deluge from heaven to quench the fire. This deluge is the heat of a supernova and then being ejected from the actual energy and then having our own celestial sphere that we have to get accompanied to. This had to be cooled off by water. Thus, the deluge happened in all mythologies. You're not going to read a mythology where they're not talking about a flood that wiped out everything. Okay? So, this is the Nordic Yggdrasil, something to that effect. It is still with the tree of life at the center point of the world and everything rotating around the center. If you can understand the movements of the earth, you can understand the movements of your body and consciousness. You have an underworld, a subconscious mind. You're grounded, but you're also connected to the cosmos by centering yourself. So you can begin to understand. You're not going to understand shit if you're anxious and worried. There are hella mythologies associated with this egg. I'm just pointing out the correspondences. Doesn't this and this look familiar? These are different times, different cultures, but I need to let y'all know it's the same observation. Okay? The North Pole. This is a map, an ancient map of the North Pole. This is what they felt like the world was and what it looked like and what it felt like. Only when somebody named Mercator, who never left England, said this is what the world looked like, and that's the map we follow to this day. I digress. Over in Egypt, they was talking about the same thing, fam. It's this central pillar that sits under the cosmic ocean that they call Nut. And life just seems to rotate around it. Now, I ain't saying nothing about the earth being flat. I'm talking about the mythology of understanding the North Pole. I'm talking about sidereal astrology. Because if the world is flat or if the world is circle, if you think the world is a circle, then that's just your fault. I'm not even going to be mad at you for thinking that. Because you've been told that ever since you was a little child. So you don't got no choice to think differently. You probably drink milk in the morning. You probably drink cow milk for vitamins or some weird shit like that. It's your world. I ain't about to stop you. Think what you think. In the Bible, they talk about a firmament, which is highlighted by the pillars of heaven, the ocean of heaven, the heaven of heavens, the earth, the underworld, and then the pillars of earth. So it's always these pillars, it's always this central energy that keeps everything afloat. When in reality, why would you be telling me about some shit that I don't have no control over? The firmament with the stars. I don't have no control over this. Why you fuck you telling me this? Obviously, they ain't telling me about nothing besides myself. Check. They talking about the pillars within your body, which would be your central nervous system, and activating that and getting your chakras aligned so you could begin to understand this shit. Because it's only after doing the work that this shit just opened up to me like a fucking book. I can look at this shit and say, oh, this is what they're talking about. And it only was from actively studying and not even knowing what the fuck I was actually studying. So in your mama's Bible, in that first drawer by the room, probably not your mama, Your grandmama for sure. Job chapter 9 verse 9, it states he is the maker of the bear and Orion, Pleiades, and the constellations of the south. In the Bible, they talking about stars. But if you don't understand the constellations that he laid out, you might just be like, well, these just some regular ass stars. Let's talk about the North Star, the North Pole, and then we going to connect that to omphalos, and then I'm going to let y'all go. Let's read. The name Arctic comes from the Greek word arctos, meaning bear. It refers to the constellation Ursa Major, or Great Bear, which appears in the northern sky. The Big Dipper is part of the Great Bear constellation, and it guides the way to the North Star, an important navigational guide. When you are facing Polaris, you are always facing north. You'll notice from the diagram that the bull and the dipper becomes the saddle and the bear, and follow the nerve, Harriet Tubman, so forth and so on. The knowledge of how to use the North Star in navigation has been known to people in the Northern Hemisphere for well over 2,000 years, and it gave them a great advantage when it came to travel, trade, and sharing information. This constellation, Ursa Major, is key to finding that star. So, an ancient mind, in summary, an ancient mind's ability to understand the direction, to understand the future, to understand divination was its ability to connect to the North Star. And from the North Star, you will understand the firmament, then you will understand the processions of the fixed stars. And because you understood this, you would know how long it would take to get stuff done. You would know all things that the most common person wouldn't know. This is what I'm offering you. To understand how to look at astrology from a perspective of observation, and then figuring out, okay, now that I see this, what mythology must I tap into? What does my spirit tell me to do now that I see this, now that I observe it? If you look closely, you see the goddess in the background merging with the Milky Way. That's going to be the chapter. We discussed that in full detail. The Forgotten Goddess, which will be next chapter, actually. My damn mouse is acting weird. Give me a second. Oh, now it's back. So what is omphalos? I'm gonna give you a definition. Again, I'm gonna dive deeper into it this time though. Omphalos is a navel, a central part, a focal point. So in Greek and other world civilizations, there will be stones in the center of a village, town, or city representing the center of the world, directly related to the cosmos. The omphalos of Delphi is an ancient marble monument found in Delphi, Greece. According to ancient myths, this location represented the center of the earth, and the Greeks considered Delphi the center of the world, the navel of the earth. The Oracle of Delphi was located here, and this oracle was a wise person or agency considered a source of wise counsel or prophetic opinion, which represents spiritual authority. In many ancient sites, the people who lived and worked at the temple became known as oracles due to the words they would channel from the divine. The further one goes back into history, the more enmeshed in astrology, astronomy, and divination you become. So we are going to study this shit so we can know what the fuck we are talking about. And we can't study old shit. We got to study shit as it comes. So I believe in you that your consciousness, your intuition will speak to you in such a way that you will be having all types of downloads when you simply understand that you are an oracle. And the only way to activate your oracle nature is to center yourself and ground yourself. This omphalos is found in the center of the city, the center of the village. And this is where the chiefs sit. This is where the kings sit. This is where the queens sit. And these energies only represent the womb. These represent the goddess because the center is the womb. Okay? The womb is the power for life, because without the womb, none of us would be here. None of the planets would be here, let alone your black ass. Nothing exists without the womb. So in order to tap into some power, to some portals, to some wormholes, you got to tap into your mandala or to your circle or to your womb and travel. But you got to understand that these esoteric metaphysical things are not mumbo jumbo. They're electromagnetic. And electromagnetic means you can't hide. That means you actually have to tune in and tap in and activate your shit. In the same way as I don't got to prove to you and talk to you all day about your left hand and your right hand, it'll be the same way as you knowing that you powerful. But the way that you know that you powerful is you start from the center. Let's do some mythology. This is one of my favorite mythologies of all time. It is the mythology of chaos. Okay? I want to read. I like reading sometimes because I be sounding like a crazy person. You'll be saying wild stuff, hood. I don't even know where you be coming up with this stuff. Because it needs to be hammered home and batten down like the hatches. Let's go. Give me a second. Chaos was most Greek cosmology. You see, chaos, Greek cosmology, the study of the cosmos. Chaos and cosmos is synonymous and related to another. Chaos just ain't your baby daddy messing up your makeup kit because he was mad at you. That ain't being chaotic. We talking about cosmology right now. Not talking about discord. We're not talking about disorder. We're not talking about confusion. We're talking about chaos. Chaos was the very first of all, the origin of everything. The empty, unfathomable space at the beginning of time. But it was more than just a gaping void, as its name usually translated from ancient Greek. It was personified as a female. So a female in its deepest personifications, the difference would be the womb versus the phallus from an ancient thought space. So a womb-like structure or a womb-like energy or entity or deity or personification represents a creative, life-creative force. Chaos being the original force, the primal feature of the universe, a shadowy realm of mass and energy from which much of what is powerful, and they say mostly negative and dark, I disagree, in the world would stem forth in later genealogies. So this chaos thing is a womb of creation, and it's more centered into the beginning of all time when everything was perfect. As a baby, let's talk about it. As a baby, you was in a state of bliss and perfection. And that's when you were in the womb, fam. You didn't care nothing about time. At 2 years old, you ain't care about time. At 5, you kind of didn't. But by the time you got 12, your ass had to be up at 7 o'clock to get to school. Check. Your mom wouldn't even care about the time of which you went to sleep when you was a baby. Even deeper, when you was in the womb, time was completely irrelevant. And the reason that we so discontented now is because we don't have that ability to recenter ourselves, or we just don't know how to recenter ourselves or the power in it. Because when we were in our mother's womb, we were still connected to the star body. We were still connected to the star consciousness, to the cosmology. So the idea of womb-ism is the idea of creating from a perfect space. And how to get there is to stay centered. We'll talk about it. And that's in Greek, where you got the Oracle of Delphi in the middle. And this is from my own personal knowledge. It's a city in Ohio called Circleville. And Circleville was an ancient mound place. And in the middle of Circleville, they got a town center city hall. But before it was a town center city hall, it was a Native American mound. And this is where the king stayed and things of that nature, where the priests and the priestesses did magic and healing and things of that nature in the center. This represents the womb of creation. That's why the magic and the power is in the center. As human beings, we use these centers as portals to connect to the cosmos. And the only reason that you think it's crazy is because you ain't doing it. But see, you have a whole society set up in the middle. And then once they seen how the mounds were set up, the colonizers didn't even switch it up. They just put their shit on top of it. Very key to understand this. I'm going to show y'all another Native American mound. The same rules apply. Circles within a circle. A womb within a womb. An egg within an egg. A mystery within a mystery. So it's very important that once we get to decoding sidereal astrology and start understanding the mythologies and cosmologies, you got to be ready for new information to rain down on your head. Because that was the reason that the city was set up as a circle. That was the reason that the people was going to see the oracle. That was the reason that the people was going to the center of it all. Because they didn't know shit. And they needed to figure out how to know shit. And that was tuning in and tapping in to the cosmos through organizing your life as your body is set up. You can understand that the baby is in the womb. You can then understand how the womb represents the time before time. Before time is calculated. Before time is understood. Even deeper in your hoodoo and voodoo religions, omphalos is continuously syncretized. Meaning that just because you talk about omphalos in the Greek didn't mean it disappeared. It just went into a different name. The name that we call omphalos now is the Crossroads. So the difference between my astrology, where people hit you with mumbo jumbo and, well, this sign means this and that means that. No, this means the crossroads, and this means it's time to do some magic. It's time to tune in and tap in. That's why we doing this shit for. To commune with the cosmos. But the thing about the crossroads is the physical and the spiritual where they meet. The thing about omphalos, the thing about the center of the village, the thing about the North Pole, the thing about Ursa Major, human beings have an obsession with the center. Even deeper, I tried to do research on center. I just kept finding centers of shit, like the center of disease control, the center of your mama's house, the center of alcohol and all of this shit. I'm like, no, I just want to find the etymology on center. What is human beings' fascination with centers? It's so deep that human beings haven't even gotten to this point of realization, even with all of this shit laid out in front of us. In Greek mythology, the goddess of the crossroads is Hecate. Hecate represents witchcraft and magic, and in Greek mythology, they would go to the crossroads and leave offerings. They don't call it offerings, they call it supper. Now, the ancient people would do that, and you might be feeling the need to do that, but you don't want to do that because you crazy. It make you feel crazy. You ain't crazy. You crazy if you don't do it. How about that? Something within your psychology, something within human beings have been ritualistic and leaving plates of food for goddesses for centuries. If they've been doing that shit naturally, that must be the right thing to do. So another thing about observation and having it in a class format is that your ability to be intuitive is going to be on another level. Because instead of being intuitive in your mind, imagine being a platform where we're talking about these things and you say what it means to you and you tap into a ritual behind it and you begin to do it. Now, say, for instance, you just listening to shit and just continuously following the entropy, continuously breaking down and not knowing that the way to activate yourself is through ritual, but ritual is actually your communication between you and the stars. I'm going to prove this so deeply that you're not even going to give yourself a chance to think that astrology isn't the way, that sidereal astrology isn't the way, and you're going to know the difference between both. Because as I give you detail upon detail, fact upon fact upon fact, your Western astrologer is not going to be able to do the same thing. So another astrological concept to the crossroads is not Bone Thugs and Harmony, unfortunately, but it is the statue Hermes. Now, Hermes is the Greek word for the Roman word Mercury. Mercury is a planet. So the crossroads are deeply related to the celestial bodies in the sky. They make it Mercury because Mercury is liquid. Then when you do the alchemy, it becomes concrete. It becomes hard. So the idea of nothing can now be something when we connect, when we merge the physical world and the spiritual world. But we don't just do that cosmologically, we do that psychologically. You got to recognize the spiritual world and physical world within yourself, right? You got to understand the crossroads within yourself. Let's talk about it. I'm a wager and say the pituitary gland is the crossroads of the body. I'm a just guess. That's a guess. You know why I said that? Because Mercury rules the pituitary gland and Mercury rules the crossroads. Mercury rules issue. That's what I was going to say. So pituitary gland, crossroads. And I'm not talking about Bone Thugs and Harmony. The pituitary gland, I want to make sure y'all see that. It's very important that y'all see the same thing that I'm seeing so we can all bear witness to facts. Because your Western astrology ain't going to do that. He going to beat your ears up to death with anecdotal understandings because he having a good life or she having a good life because they scamming you all the way to the bank. The pituitary gland is the anatomical and functional crossroads of the brain, mind, and body. Y'all see that? The pituitary gland is the anatomical, functional crossroads of the brain, mind, and body. Let's sing this all together now. See you at the crossroads, crossroads, crossroads. See you at the crossroads, so you won't be lonely. And I'm gonna miss everybody. I'm gonna miss everybody. Okay? Weighing less than 1 gram, measuring a centimeter in width, the pituitary is often called the master gland since it regulates the secretion of the body's hormones. Okay? The mounds represent Atlantis. Check. The mounds is in America. Atlantis in America. You are in Atlantis. They stealing your history from you. The more that you can allow them to steal your history from you, the more they're going to take from you. The more that you reclaim your history, the more you will tap into it because you are it. You and the Father are one. Okay? It's not about going east. It's not about going west. It's not about going north. It's not about going south. It's about being centered. It's about going to the crossroads where the physical and spiritual meet. You should always be here. You should never not be here. Okay? Why would you not be here? Why would you be tuned into the physical, getting your ass beat? And why would you be in the spiritual, not being grounded? You got to find both. You got to be both. You got to stand in both. Everybody asks me what I do. I said I'm a spiritual healer. I am. I didn't know what to say. I was tired of lying. What y'all want me to do? It's 8:23 right now, Ashe. So we about to finish this up. It's been a long, drawn out talk, but y'all been such good sports. I really do appreciate y'all. LearnSidereal.com if you enjoy these conversations. This is going to be the last of the Mohicans. I'm going to be really working on my editing skills, but I will be talking that talk, but I'm going to just do it more or less on Sidereal. LearnSidereal.com. That's the new movement. That's my new business. I love the way that y'all support. So, and supporting yourself. Y'all support me by supporting yourself, and that's so beautiful. I wouldn't have it no other way. As above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. Notes. This is going to be on the quiz. This is going to be on the quiz. As above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. Okay? What are we talking about? Ooh-wee. Sensation, physical, thinking, mental, intuition, mumbo jumbo, feeling, horror energy. Big horror energy, feeling, sensation. Hoping and wishing for feeling, hoping and wishing for sensation, thinking, intuitive. You got to meet yourself in the middle of the center and utilize all four areas in one understanding. You have to bridge the physical and spiritual world, and I have a wonderful tool for divination, and it's called sidereal astrology. I hope that you continuously learn and take this journey with me. I'm so inspired and I'm so ready to bring the funk flavor and the information on a consistent basis. Because I need people to understand we ain't just physical out here, nor are we just spiritual. We doing both. We centered and we're grounded. We need conversations in reference to electromagnetic energy. I understand that you're inquisitive about what the world scams and the world scams have to offer you. But if you're not going within yourself, you wasting time. Stop supporting people acting like that's your spiritual growth. Your spiritual growth is when you support yourself. Understand how to support others by supporting yourself. Buy stuff from people that benefit you, right? Don't just tune in and tap in and don't support and just be looking at people and act like you're doing spiritual work. You fooling yourself. There's a center of quietness within which has to be known and held. If you lose that center, you are in tension and you begin to fall apart. You need to know this before we start talking about sidereal astrology. So don't worry if we're not talking about sidereal astrology yet. We will. I promise you we will. The second law of thermodynamics is entropy. It's saying that once an energy was a solid togetherness, it begins to spread and fall apart. But since we have a psychological immortality, we can remember that singular original point before time. And only way that we are able to grasp it is if we center ourselves in this fact. What I'm saying is you're too worried about your baby mama. You're too worried about your finances. You're too worried about what you're going to buy your kids for Christmas. And you're not giving yourself time to involve yourself in singular thought. To ground is to pour your energies back into the earth and feel the warm calm of nature entering your body in exchange. This is electromagnetic energy. This is meeting people at the crossroads. This is activating your chakras. This is tuning in to the sidereal actual placements of constellations so you never have to worry. And this is now understanding this. You don't have to quit your day job. You don't have to change careers. You don't have to learn a whole bunch of stuff. You don't have to learn mathematical equations. I just want you to be one with the all. And I just want to show you and show you and show you and keep showing you that you are until you finally get it. Because if you can't pour into the earth, you might be wanting something from your baby mama or your baby daddy or your mom or your dad when you're supposed to tune in and tap into the earth, because that's what grounds you. That's what gives you an energy. I can't wait to talk about electromagnetic energy with y'all. But we not there yet, but we will get there. We finishing up this lecture though. Y'all been such wonderful and great sports. Give yourself a round of applause for learning new information and not being scared and not having cognitive dissonance and allowing yourself to imagine that you know everything. Give me a thumbs up if you learned some new information by peering into this lecture. I don't care if you was on here for 2 minutes, 3 hours. Did you learn something from this content? That's all I want to know. Or did you know all of this shit already and did I waste your time? Please be honest with me. Don't lie, because y'all not going to like the video. Y'all not going to share. Y'all not going to subscribe. Let's have a moment of transparency. Did you learn something from this content? I'll wait. Stray, you always keep it a buck 10,000 and a million. So much love to you, Stray. Really do appreciate your support, because I don't even ask you to do it. You do it on your own. Ashe. I appreciate you. We need much more strays out here in these streets. If everybody was like Stray Panther, this world for conscious niggas, we'd be living in a lap of luxury. It don't cost Stray nothing to be the person that he is. He just do it off of GP. That's being tuned in and tapped in for no reason. And I wish we all could be like that. Ashe? Right now, you have an umbilical cord that's connected to your mama. But you also have an umbilical cord connecting from your third eye, the seat of the soul, that's connected to the cosmos. Because you don't care about it don't mean that it don't exist. It just means that you don't care about it. You know how you didn't care about your health and you was drinking Hennessy every day, and then they said, well, your liver is going out. Now you starting to talk about herbs and things of that nature. That's cool. But the whole time you was drinking Hennessy, the facts remain that you was destroying your liver. You just didn't care. So when we talk about tuning in and tapping into the cosmos, opening your mind, you got to sit down, relax, learn new information. You got to let the downloads and channels come. This is understanding the connection between you and the cosmos. As we dive deep for $10 a fucking month. That's it. I'm just trying to show you your connection to the cosmos is real versus you acting like it don't exist. And I understand that people only pay attention to what they pay for, so I got to do what I got to do. Same way you got to do what you got to do. But we're trying to elevate and activate and teach leaders how to lead from a spiritual space. Y'all are all oracles to me. Y'all are all have the ability to bring about wealth and prosperity on your families and your legacies. But if you think that you just this human being not connected to the cosmos, you got it all fucked up and backwards. And you might need to sit down and listen, because you're working so hard to live a lie. That if I say stop working so hard, living that lie, relax, tune into source, follow source, listen to source, trust source, then these things begin to make a little bit more sense and life becomes a hell of a lot easier. Okay? Especially if we do it together. So, 2 quick things from the Bible, astrotheology. Some people might think they talking about Jesus Christ. I think they talking about the silver cord. Let's look. You'd be the judge. John chapter 15, verse 4. Abide in me as I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye except ye abide in me. The vine. The branch. The branch cannot produce fruit unto itself. The branch has to connect to the vine. The vine is connected to the cosmos, and this cosmos is what gives you your spiritual authority. Very simple shit. But if you feel like you alone, disconnected, you got to learn from this person, that person, go up, down, left, right, BA, start. You got it all fucked up. This is my last slide. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 6 through 8. Remember him before the silver cord is broken. There it goes right in your damn Bible. It's been in your grandma's Bible this whole time. You've been sitting here arguing with your grandma. Jesus don't exist, grandma. Your grandma smack you in your face. What you said, girl? You better take you and your air mattress out of my house. Talk about Jesus ain't real. Remember him before the silver cord is broken and the golden bowl is crushed. See, Jesus is a personification of a planetary energy, basically. It's a mythology. It's a story that sits in the subconscious of human beings. If you told people Jesus was actually Saturn, it might make sense. However, you told Jesus is a real person that exists, now we all confused. Remember him before the silver cord is broken and the golden bowl is crushed and the pitcher by the well is shattered and the wheel at the cistern is crushed. Then the dust will return to earth as it was and the spirit will return to God who gave it. Vanity of vanity, says the preacher. All is vanity. Basically, when we forget the silver cord, because none of y'all know about the silver cord. Stop capping. Because y'all ain't tell me about the damn silver cord. Y'all was not talking about the silver cord. Now we talking about it. And now it's like, oh shit. Everybody talking about the silver cord now. But no, I'm saying, before this silver cord is broken entirely, we must remember it. Because until we remember it, we suffer from vanity of vanity. So, stay tuned for lecture 3, where we talk about the forgotten goddess, the womb of chaos, even deeper. But I need you guys to center yourself. Don't worry about nothing. Worry about your connection to the cosmos. I was doing this all last night, and I couldn't go to sleep. I've been up since 3. Like, I got to share this. So I shared it. Feels good that I shared it. I can probably go eat some damn breakfast. I'm getting one of them, like, nauseous headache things going on, so I'm about to go eat. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this presentation, this lecture. LearnSidereal.com. Sign up. You don't got to pay to sign up, but just sign up, join the mystery school, make your voice heard, make sure your voice count. We can do live videos, so you can go live in the mystery school. I'm definitely going to start doing that more and more, especially when people start signing up to LearnSidereal.com so we can learn some sidereal astrology together. Okay? Really love y'all. Really appreciate y'all tuning in and tapping in. Y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you for spending y'all morning with me. Peace.